And we're live, yay! We'll just wait for a couple minutes to have some people join us, and then we'll get going again with our second one for today. Let's see. Oh, we've got a few people. Oh, great. Looks like we have a few different viewers, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. This is Wisest's third live streaming event this week in collaboration with Science Odyssey Week. My name is Joelle. I'm the Wisest Outreach Coordinator. I'm going to be helping to kind of moderate today, and we're really excited about it. So this live streaming series is called Discovering a Whole New World, and basically it's kind of a way to give you, the students, a lot of kind of one-on-one mentoring and discussions and feedback, especially if you're from the comfort of your classroom to do that here. So today we're going to be talking on STEM impacting our daily lives. This is going to be kind of the theme. So we're going to be talking a lot about how STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, how it can help impact our communities every day. And before we do get started, I just want to say we really love live questions. And so if you have any, please ask some. We would really, really love it. You know, teachers, if you have it with your class, have your class type in some questions for you. It's one of our favorite things to do is answering questions from students live. So we would really love it if you could do that. All right, so I guess we'll start off with our two wonderful panelists here, and I will ask them to introduce themselves. So Sharon, let's start with you this time.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon. So I'm at the U of A. I graduated actually from here last year with my Bachelor's of Science. I majored in biology and I minored in psychology. I then spent a year as a special student in the Faculty of Arts, and I'm now starting my Master's of Public Health program at Simon Fraser University this September. So I'm going to be focusing on population health, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. And I was born and raised in Edmonton. Great.
Hey everyone, my name is Heidi Kazi. I'm a master's student here at the U of A, and I'm from Innisfil, Alberta, which is a small town. There's like 7,000 people there, and it's about 2 hours south of where I am now in Edmonton. So I grew up there, and then I moved to Edmonton, and I was actually in the Bachelor of Arts program for about a year. And then I switched into Bachelor of Science in Civil and Environmental Engineering. And then after that, I worked for about a year in consulting and engineering, and then I came back, and now I'm a grad student doing my master's in environmental engineering.
Great. Well, we can kind of go, I'd say let's go ahead and get started with really the obvious question. We're talking about STEM impacting our daily lives. How would you say that you use STEM on a daily basis? Sharon, let's start.
I think we use STEM like every day, and like a lot of the time it's all around us. It's like, you know, it's really, we use it to communicate. We use it to convey information most of the time, and so much of what we do has been, you know, impacted by STEM in like some way, shape, or form. And I think for me, it's really been a lot about like implementing problem solving and like the critical thinking skills that I've gotten from STEM in my daily life, whether it's reading the news or you know, just reading about medication that I might be taking. Things like that.
Yeah, so it helps you to understand and tease things out a little bit more. What's real, what's fake news, those types of things, right?
Yeah. For me, I find that I'm problem solving all the time in my daily life, not on purpose at all, but if there's a problem and like a real life practical problem, I'll come up with a different solution than my friends who maybe don't have an engineering background. So not on purpose, but I'm problem solving and critical thinking all the time. And that's definitely related to the fact that I have my STEM background and engineering background.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very common for engineers to take a different approach to doing things. They seems like a lot of them think about the world in a different way, which I think is really cool. Okay, well, let's move on to another question. We have lots of them to do today. How about, did you face any types of unique challenges when you were kind of pursuing your education? Was there anything that was a little bit difficult for you or something that you had to overcome? Heidi, let's start with you this time.
Sure. So I grew up in rural Alberta, and I didn't see a lot of people in STEM. My mom's a pharmacist, but aside from that, there weren't a lot of I guess, female role models in STEM. So I didn't really picture that for myself until I was at the U of A. And then when I got here and I was in Bachelor of Arts, and I realized there were so many other things that I could do, and engineering really stood out to me. So I went into engineering, but being from a rural community, and I didn't really look into all the opportunities that were available to me. So that was definitely something that I wish I would have done. And then going into engineering can be a little intimidating, especially if you're a female and there's not maybe a lot of other women in engineering. But once you're in the program and you gain your confidence and you realize you can do it just as much or maybe better than other people. So it's definitely, I guess, the rural community, and being a woman in STEM can sometimes be a little bit challenging, but it's a good challenge. It's not a bad thing. So yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in Edmonton, so I, hypothetically, maybe there should have been more opportunities for me, and I might not have been seeking them out, or maybe I just didn't see them, or they just weren't there for me. But I don't know, just thinking back, I did kind of have a hard time. So I always knew I wanted to go into the sciences and I wanted to do biology, but it was kind of hard for me to kind of figure out how exactly I would do that in terms of outside of school and getting involved in research and different kinds of groups and stuff. So that was something I kind of struggled with when I first started my undergrad, so in first year. But once I started going out to a couple of student groups and clubs, and I started talking to friends, and I kind of figured out my way and how I could get involved with different kinds of opportunities. So that worked out then.
Oh, that sounds great. We have a few questions here. What would you say your greatest achievement is in STEM? Okay. So that's a bit of a tough one, maybe, especially because you're both pretty early in your careers. But is there something that kind of sticks out in your mind as something that you felt really accomplished once you finished that? Heidi, let's start with you. Go first.
Sure. So when I went into engineering, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I really wasn't sure that I could do it. And then I graduated at the top of my class of the civil environmental engineers. So it's 200 kids. And so I was very proud of that, and I didn't expect it going in. So to date, that's one of my proudest achievements in STEM for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, congratulations. Thank you. How about you, Sharon?
I can't think of just one accomplishment. I mean, I haven't started my master's yet either. I would just say it's a bunch of different things, really. I can't just pinpoint one. And yeah, I can't just say it's one thing that has been my greatest accomplishment.
Yeah. There's lots of things along the way, right? We have a couple more questions here. Let's see. What are the best skills or attributes would you say that a student can have if they want to go into a STEM field, into a STEM career? What types of things do you think would help them succeed?
I think it depends on the person. I think you could go into it with completely different backgrounds and succeed no matter what. But if you like math and science, or you like to problem solve, actually writing is a huge thing in engineering. A lot of engineers aren't the best writers. So if you're a really good writer and you're in engineering, that's a huge skill set. Communication skills are incredibly valuable in STEM. I feel like I think you can go into it with a bunch of different skill sets and succeed no matter what.
Yeah, so building off of what you said, I think STEM really requires a whole bunch of different skills, and they kind of all just come together. So communication is really important, and writing is so important, especially when you're trying to convey information to someone, and especially if it is STEM related, because you want it to be easy to understand and you want people to kind of know what you're talking about. So that's definitely important. Just critical thinking, knowing how to problem solve, and being creative. So I think that comes in many different ways. It's not just something that's limited to I don't know. So I feel it's a lot of thinking outside of the box as well. That's involved.
Yeah. Well, we have a few more questions. We love getting questions. So let's move on to the next one. Would you say there have been any major difficulties for you being a woman in STEM in today's world? Any challenges on that?
So for me in school, I've never really had a problem with it. I was in environmental engineering, so that's actually half women, half men. So I was very lucky. And even in undergrad, because I was the same age as a lot of the students. I never really had that problem. Sometimes in the workforce, if you're working with someone who's quite a bit older than you and they're not maybe used to younger women in the workforce, that can be a bit of a challenge, but it's not necessarily easy to overcome, but you can definitely overcome it. And I've had that problem maybe once or twice, but there are also some amazing male mentors that I've come across. So it can be a bit of a challenge, but it's definitely not going to hold you back. It's just you have to find the right people.
Yeah. So like I majored in biology, and I'd say like biology has a pretty equal ratio of men and women. Like it's one of those fields in STEM. So I personally didn't really feel it as much as I feel like other women in other STEM disciplines may have, like in some engineering disciplines or maybe some science disciplines like physics. So like there's that. Yeah, so I definitely didn't I don't think I've faced any difficulties because of being a woman.
Do either of you sometimes get kind of surprise reactions from people once they find out you're an engineer or you study biology or something like that, and they're like, oh, I don't know, is that something that still happens to you in public?
Yeah, quite frequently.
Really? Oh, wow.
It's a little irritating. Yeah, they tell you you're so brave for being in engineering, and you're just, they don't mean it in a bad way, but you're just kind of like, no, like, that's not brave. Anyone could do this, but.
Right. Would they say that to a man?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. So it's a little frustrating, but they mean well, and I find it's usually not people who are, I would say, my peers. It's usually someone who's older than me or maybe in a completely different field. So something like that, yeah.
So do either of you have any advice on some things that women can do to help equip themselves and get them ready for the professional world, or, any sort of careers in STEM, would you say?
Try to be a leader as much as you can, even if don't feel like you're ready for it. Be confident and stick up for yourself and make sure you use your voice. If you just kind of sit back timidly and let all these things happen to you, people they might not take you to be the strong, capable person that you are. So definitely have confidence going in, even if you don't feel it, kind of fake it till you make it, and then you will make it. So definitely try to be confident, and you're very capable. So don't let that hold you back.
Great advice. Yeah. I think everybody can use that advice, especially for women in STEM. How about you?
Yeah, Sharon? I mean, definitely just take what you want in STEM for yourself. Like no one is going to come hand it over to you. And yeah, I would just say like be strong. And sometimes it is difficult if you're in a field where you don't see women represented in your field. So like that definitely can kind of, demotivate you or like not make you feel like different or like that you don't belong. But I say that definitely shouldn't stop you from going into that feeling. You need to make a place for yourself there, and encourage other women to join as well.
Yeah. Some other questions. We're getting some great ones here. What would you say is the most memorable experience you've had working in your field? Is there anything that really stands out as a really great memory that you'd like to share with some students?
So this isn't technically something I did at school. It was my volunteering work, and I volunteered at the Stollery for quite some time. And I'd say the entire experience has been really memorable, and just the different patients that I worked with, and I got to like cuddle and play with. So it was something memorable for me.
And so would you say that helped make you feel like your work was having an impact? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always important, right? You want to do that. How about you?
I guess making me feel like I had an impact would be volunteering and working on panels or just one-on-one. When you get really good feedback from the students and they tell you that, they thought you were amazing or you really helped them, that was a very great memory for me, for sure.
Oh, great. A few more questions, lots of them here. How does having a support network help you as a woman in STEM?
I would say like my support network is very important for me. And so they're obviously there for like emotional support, which is just has been so helpful. But also for information, because I do have like a lot of friends who are in other STEM fields or have experience working like in research and or are doing their master's or whatever. And so it's always really helpful to kind of have those networks and being able to reach out for, like help when I need it, whether it's just like, whether it's like for applications or how to get more involved and just things like that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I find having just even a few people who are incredibly encouraging can make a world of difference. I have an older sister who's not in STEM at all, but she's an amazing influence and just like very positive. And then I have incredible mentors at the U of A in engineering, and that's very important to me. It helps me kind of make maybe major life decisions, but I kind of get someone else's input and make sure I'm on the right path, and it's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. So then do you have advice for students who might be starting university soon on how they'd be able to find a support network?
So if you happen to know someone who's already in the program, you could reach out to them. Generally, if you reach out to anybody, they're usually pretty good at getting back to you and very positive because they wish they maybe had done that or someone's done that for them. So reaching out to people is a great way to do that. And if you don't know anyone, you could get in touch with like a student advisor. I feel like reaching out to people, though, is an amazing way to kind of get that information in that network.
Yeah. Like I think student groups would be a really good way. Like different faculties and departments have their own like student associations, so getting involved with those, and you're kind of surrounded by people who are in the same field as you as well. So
yeah. Great advice there. Great. So while we're speaking of university, what would you say your favorite course was that you took? Whether as an undergrad or graduate, at any point, what would you say your favorite course was? If you could pick just one.
I would say my favorite course was a pharmacology course that I took in my undergrad. And it's just something about medications and the way they work that I loved it.
Yeah, and so would that kind of tie into human physiology and how they worked in the body, and but also the chemical makeup of the drugs as well?
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a bit of chemistry, and it was like chemistry, biology. There was also a lot of like math in it because we would have to like calculate different like concentrations and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's fascinating. How about you, Heidi?
For me, I have loved all of my calculus courses, and most people are probably cringing because they don't like calculus, and most engineers don't like calculus. But for me, I love my math courses. I love to problem solve. So those have been my favorite for sure.
Oh, great. What would you do differently in terms of your education path? So if you went back and you woke up this morning again, you were a high school student again, was there anything that you might do differently that you think would make it a little bit easier for you to succeed?
Personally, if I was in high school, I think I would have gotten more involved in terms of like extracurriculars and STEM outside of school. So not just taking the courses that I need, but actually getting involved in different kinds of like programs like WISEST and different programs that the university offers.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I would have looked into other opportunities for me in STEM. So in Innisfil, Alberta, there may not be the most opportunities, but there's the WISEST Summer Research Program, which I would have loved to have taken advantage of and things like that. And then I think that would have helped me probably go right into STEM instead of taking my year in arts and then diving into STEM. So.
Yeah, well, and I think especially if you're in a rural community now, there's a lot of online opportunities that you might be able to join in and get experience that way too, definitely. Yeah, great. Let's see, lots of questions here. Can you give a piece of advice to any young woman who is kind of debating whether or not they should go into STEM in university? If they're just unsure, it seems like, you might have switched your major a couple of times, to try and have a hard time deciding what exact career path. Is there any advice you could give to help them figure it out?
Well, I would say keep your options open, especially in high school. So kind of take all the courses that you need to go into the STEM field that you're thinking about, and in university as well. I know engineering is a little bit more strict with this, but if you're in sciences, you can kind of take other courses from different faculties and kind of play around for a year and see what you like and then decide on your major. So yeah, I would say that you definitely don't have to decide on your major right now. So you can take your time with it and explore for a bit.
Yeah, and I would say, like you said, take as many courses as you can in high school. I never took physics, and that's a requirement to get into engineering. So I had to take Physics 30 in like 2 months over the summer so that I could get into engineering in September, which wasn't the most fun. So definitely don't limit yourself in high school. And then once you get to university, you don't have to have everything figured out right away. And if you do, that's great, but you probably won't. You'll probably change your mind. And if you're thinking about something, but maybe you're a little bit scared, I would say go for it. You have no idea what you're capable of. And you have just, like, I'm sure you can do it just as much as anyone else. So don't let any like fear you might have kind of stop you. I'll just say go for it.
That's great. And so here's a question kind of along those lines, specifically for you, Heidi. How easy was it for you to change your major when you decided you didn't want to be in arts anymore?
It was not easy. For the U of A, I don't know about other faculties of engineering, different universities, but it's much easier to get into engineering right out of high school just because they have sort of a quota. So if you meet a certain mark, I believe you're almost guaranteed to be in engineering. So if you're transferring in, there's limited space for that. But now they're changing it, I believe, so you can actually minor in something else and you can add a little bit of extra courses to your load and just sort of maybe make it 4.5 or 5 years to finish your degree, so that you can take maybe women's studies courses or something like that if you wanted to. But it is easier to go into engineering right out of the gate, much easier. So.
Okay. Did you change your major at all, or did you stick with biology the whole time?
I stuck with biology. So like I knew I wanted to do biology in high school, and I liked it in my undergrad, so I did end up sticking with it.
Okay, yeah. I had a bunch of different biology. I think I had 3 different biology majors, and in the biology department at the university that I went to before I decided on one. And that was okay. That kind of works out that way, right? It takes a little while sometimes to figure that out. So why do you think it's important, we're talking about STEM in our daily lives, why do you think it's important for people to study STEM and to go into STEM careers?
So I think like STEM is all around us, and it definitely offers you the opportunity to kind of develop these skills that you can really apply in your everyday life. So like we talked about before, like STEM really fosters creativity and like problem solving skills and creative thinking, and just like in spaces that you wouldn't really think STEM would be able to work, like it is applied there. Like I talked about this before, but when I had a Tumblr, I used coding to like customize the layout of it, and I never realized it was STEM and that I was learning something that was like STEM related and this kind of like field. Yeah, but like it's kind of everywhere around us, and so I feel like it even has so many applications outside of STEM itself. So
yeah, I feel like STEM gives you sort of critical thinking skills that maybe you don't even know that you have. So if you come upon some information, you can maybe analyze it a little bit better or figure out what's true and what's not true. For example, there's a lot of fake news out there. There's articles about like burnt toast is gonna give you cancer and it's ridiculous stuff. And if you have that STEM background, you might be like, okay, well, this doesn't really seem legit and the science isn't great. So it kind of just gives you critical thinking skills outside of your profession, just in your daily life.
Absolutely. I think that science literacy is a really important component, right? It helps you kind of weed through that fake news and figure out what's right and how you can use that, and maybe take some of that advice or things coming down the pipeline in the media. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. How does the work that you currently do, how do you think that impacts the world around you? Why do you think the work and research that you do is important? Or the work that you will be doing once you start graduate school?
I actually haven't started my graduate program yet, but when I do, I'm going to be learning about like public health, specifically population health, and I'll be doing a practicum, which is like a small like work placement, possibly a thesis, which is a research project. And after that, working. And so, like I would potentially like to focus all of my like school and work on women's mental health during and after pregnancy. And so I'm hoping that my work would be able to make, and my research and my work would be able to make, like positive contributions to women's well-being.
Great.
So I'm an environmental engineer, so the project I'm working on is we're looking at a technology to help clean up some of the oil sands waste. So that has a very obvious environmental impact. It's very beneficial for the environment, the people around. It's also beneficial for public image for oil sands companies and then taxpayers in the future, so they won't have to clean it up. So environmental engineering typically has a very obvious, hopefully positive impact on society and the environment, of course.
Great. So kind of working off of that, what kind of technology do you use in your work?
So I use something called supercritical fluid extraction, which I'm sure you all know exactly what that is. We take a gas, and then if you pressurize it to like 200 times the pressure that you have right now, stuff will dissolve in it. So it kind of acts like a little bit like water. If you dissolve sugar in water, it kind of acts like that. So it's a chemical engineering process, but I'm using it for an environmental purpose, and we're trying to clean up the oil sands waste streams with it. So
that's cool.
So far, so good.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good news. And so is that kind of the number one thing you use? Do you use other do you have data that you need to analyze on the computers, and do you use different programs for that, or something like that?
More so, we take the information, what we're getting out with the experiments, and then we sort of analyze that, and then there's a bunch of like data and data mining and stuff like that that I do to figure out how effective it was and what are we getting out and all these different things. So
when you're working with that data, do you have to write code to help?
I don't have to. We have someone in our group who actually does that, which is really nice.
Okay, that is nice.
But we do use a lot of use MATLAB and everything like that. Okay. So it's not just the experiments. There's a whole other, what do you do once you have all the information? So
right, yeah. I asked that because when I was in graduate school, I had to write all my own code to run all of the statistical, all the data analyses, and that's fun and challenging in a different way, and something I had never really done and experienced before. But it kind of helps to show you how technology can really interweave itself into everything that you do.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you, Sharon? Would you say that you use technology in your undergrad or in your graduate work?
I would say not much, just because of like my field. Yeah, so like I was really focused on biology. I mean, there wasn't really much that I did like outside of labs and stuff. And so it's been really limited so far, but like I may use it more during my graduate degree.
That's great. Do either of you have any sort of STEM related hobbies that students might be able to consider getting involved in that might help them in their career? I know for me, I really love mycology. That's something which is the study of mushrooms. That's a lot of what I did my graduate work on. And so I, to this day, I still love to go out and forage and foray for mushrooms. And so I've gotten heavily involved with the Alberta Mycological Society, and I'm on the board of directors. And so I kind of help them and help other people learn about mushrooms. And I also teach courses in how to identify it and those sorts of things. So that's how I kind of get my interests and into my hobbies. But yeah, do you guys do anything like that, or?
Outside of volunteering for STEM things, I really like to be outdoors, which is kind of environmental engineering, but it's not specifically STEM. It just kind of relates to my program a little bit, but I don't have anything like that. That's very impressive.
Well, I think some of your volunteering is really important, and really volunteering is a hobby too. So maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the types of volunteering that you do.
So I volunteer with a couple of different programs with WISES, Discovery, which is also sort of an outreach program. And just sort of some odds and ends with the university and the grad studies, doing panels and different talks and stuff like that for STEM and diversity in STEM. And then I also teach English to adults who are newcomers or refugees to Canada. So that's something that I really enjoy. And it's definitely helped develop my teaching skills, which is definitely applicable to STEM, but I'm not teaching them STEM, but it's very valuable as well.
Related hobbies, or any type of other things that you do that might, or volunteer work, anything like that?
I can't think of any like STEM related hobbies off the top of my head, but there definitely is volunteer work that I think is related to STEM, And so like volunteering at the stollery with patients, that involves like a lot of patient contact. So there is that definitely. And just volunteering as part of like a research team as a research assistant, and like working with participants there. Yeah, so there's that. And then I also run a literacy program at a library for students who are like in elementary and just kind of require some extra help outside of class with their reading and writing. So yeah, things like that.
Types of things. So were either of you involved in research as undergraduates before you kind of start, well, especially before you started graduate school? Did you do any research?
Yeah, so all of my research was actually course-based, so it was always like kind of a part of courses that I took.
Okay.
So I never really did anything over the summer or any other kind of like projects outside of my coursework. But yeah, I mean, I had the opportunity to do projects in psychology, so like actual research projects that I did, as well as in women's and gender studies. I was able to do a research project in that as well. Yeah.
How about you?
So I didn't do any research in my undergrad. You do have the opportunity in engineering to do like summer research if you wanted to, but I was in a co-op program, so I actually worked in industry instead of doing research. So I didn't have a background in it at all before I went to grad school, but turns out I like it, so
that
worked out well.
Well, maybe you can talk a little bit about some of your industry experience then, and give some perspective on that, whether with the co-op program, and you said you also worked in consulting for a year. So
yeah,
maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that was very helpful, especially the co-op program in engineering. I did 3 different placements. It was a total of 20 months, I think, altogether, and it definitely helps you figure out what you like and what you don't like, because with engineering, and I'm sure other STEM careers, there's so many opportunities for you once you graduate. It's not like you're stuck in one position, so it really helped me figure out what I kind of wanted to pursue. And then when I finished my undergrad, I knew I wanted to do remediation engineering, which is where you clean up spills and things like that. And so my undergrad experience in work really helped me figure out what I wanted to do post undergrad. So
yeah, that's good. And so the co-op program, then, can you just explain that and how that works to any students who might not know?
So for engineering, if you do a co-op program, you don't have to do it, but if you choose to do it, then you have 3 different work terms, and it's a total of 20 months. And the U of A is really great about helping place the students. So I worked at a plant, I worked in consulting, I worked for an oil company. They were all very different. And it's awesome because you get also experience interviewing, and you get a lot of job experience and networking. And I actually found my position out after undergrad through the co-op program. I didn't work there, but I interviewed with someone, and then they wanted to hire me afterwards. So it's very valuable if you have that opportunity.
That sounds it. I know I've spoken to, I think yesterday we had somebody else who pretty much said the same thing. It's pretty easy a lot of students in the co-op program usually find jobs through their co-op placements, which is pretty handy. Great. Well, we have a few minutes left. So let's take it back to high school a little bit and see if you had any advice that you would give to yourself as a high school student, or to any students in high school now. What type of advice would you give them? And what things do you think might help them better succeed in their STEM careers?
I would say definitely make an effort to get involved in STEM outside of school and outside of courses. So take all your science courses and stuff, but look into different programs that the university might offer, or things close by like the Telescope of Science might offer, and definitely try to get involved in that way. It'll give you like a different perspective on STEM, and really kind of offer you some more experience that can help you make your decision about like what exactly you want to do.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Try to look into opportunities that may be available for you. Not everything's just going to fall into your lap. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of your own digging. And so I definitely wish I did that in high school. I wish I had looked into STEM sort of research opportunities, or just opportunities to get involved and figure out what's available to me. So definitely wish that I had done that in high school.
Oh, great. And yeah, same with me, really. I think that would be the one thing I would say, is that I wish I had done a few more extracurriculars and things like that. That would be a little bit more specific to STEM. Yeah, so I guess as kind of a good kind of concluding question, unless anybody else has any other questions they want to ask, what do you think? I lost my question. What was I going to say? What really kind of gave you that inspiration that you really wanted to pursue a career in STEM? So did you see a problem in the world that you wanted to fix? Was there a particular mentor or somebody that really wanted to give you that direction? Was there anything that helped you with that?
For me, it was kind of ongoing, like, and especially started around junior high, where I really loved all my science courses, but I enjoyed biology the most. And I did well in it, and you know, just throughout school, I kind of realized this is what I wanted to do, and I really loved doing it. I loved going to class, and I loved learning the actual material, and so that kind of pushed me in that direction. And then one other thing that kind of also like motivated me to go into biology is when I was younger, I was hospitalized for a bit, and that kind of got me thinking about biology even more and how everything worked. And how we treat and how we heal, and like what role technology plays and what role everyone else kind of in like the healthcare system plays. And so yeah, that motivated me to do what I'm doing today.
Great. How about you?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't really see myself in STEM until I was in university, and I was in Bachelor of Arts, and it's a great program, but it just wasn't for me. I wanted something a little bit more challenging that played to my strengths. And I kind of wanted to see what I was capable of, so I took a leap of faith and went into engineering. And I really liked the idea of doing research and doing something that nobody else had done before, that really appealed to me, and sort of problem solving. So that's kind of my main reason for switching into STEM.
Great. Well, on that note, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I think everybody did a really wonderful job. Thank you so much to the panelists who did a wonderful job asking questions. And so I just want to remind you, we have 2 more sessions, and they are both happening tomorrow, Thursday, at 11:30 and again at 12:15. And those 2 sessions will be a much larger panel in a different room. We'll have a lot of different kind of diverse opinions and different things to help teach people about that. WISE's next event for female high school students will actually be our annual SET conference. So SET is Science, Engineering, and Technology. So save the date on that. That is happening on November 24th. And if you're interested in that conference, if you registered today, you will be emailed out a post-event survey. And that post-event survey, you'll actually, if you complete that, you'll actually get a $20 discount on your SET registration, which is a pretty good deal. If you haven't registered and you are interested in that, there is a registration link in the box below, so you can feel free to do that. Thanks again for tuning in, and we hope to see you again tomorrow.